not really been one for videos much recently, but yeah, there's been a lot of talk online, in TikTok and in other places, about borderline personality disorder, whether it's CPTSD, whether it's a misdiagnosis, whether we're really autistic, ADHD, whether we have all of them, how it came to pass that we ended up diagnosed with borderline. So I'd like to, at some point, touch on many topics around personality disorders. But for now, I'm just going to start with this. To be an adult diagnosed with borderline personality disorder, you will have always been predisposed to that. You will have been born with a genetic predisposition for it. I have 3 personality disorders: borderline personality disorder, avoidant personality disorder, and obsessive compulsive personality disorder, which also goes by the name of anancastic personality disorder. I'm also autistic and have ADHD. I have a PDA autistic profile, and many other needs. But for the purpose of this, that's the kind of the neurological makeup, I guess. I was born with a predisposition for borderline personality disorder, avoidant personality disorder, and anancastic personality disorder. I wasn't born with the disorders. I was born with personality styles that fit within borderline, avoidant, and anancastic. Those personality styles, before any trauma happens, those personality styles are healthy ones. They fit within healthy functioning of the brain. They have pros and cons, just like any other part of our psychological makeup. They are just words that define a group of characteristics within our personality. They come through the genetic line. So if you end up with a certain personality disorder, then you will have been born with those personality styles, and you will have parents with them, they come through the genetics. You will have parents with them. What happens from that moment forward will depict whether they maintain a healthy predisposition, like the style, the borderline, anancastic, and avoidant style, or whether the severity at which you experience your personality becomes such that it impacts your functioning in the world. Once we hit a clinically significant point, it is a recognition that the personality style that you are born with, combined with the trauma that you have experienced, has reached a point whereby your ability to function as a person is impacted. Once you hit clinical significance, there's 3 breakdowns of severity, with personality disorder being at the top of that. The most severe experience will be of a personality disorder. I was diagnosed with borderline personality disorder over 10 years ago now. I have recently also been identified by a psychiatrist and diagnosed with avoidant and anancastic. Now, that psychiatrist has identified that I no longer meet the criteria for a full personality disorder diagnosis of borderline personality disorder. So anyone that tells you that you cannot and will not ever recover, that you cannot heal, it's not true, because I have. Did I meet the criteria for borderline? Absolutely. Even taking into account the autism and ADHD that wasn't identified at the time, I still met the criteria for borderline personality disorder. The criteria for autism and ADHD is wildly different to the criteria for borderline personality disorder. So when we go down I was misdiagnosed, I'm actually autistic ADHD, I'm not saying that I can't tell people whether they are or are not misdiagnosed. What I can say is that the trauma that was attributed to your borderline personality disorder diagnosis, like autism and ADHD, are not trauma-based diagnoses. So having autism or ADHD doesn't mean that you don't still have borderline personality disorder. And actually, growing up neurodivergent in a neurotypical world could easily make you more likely to have a personality disorder, not less likely. Anyway, I digress because I've got ADHD. So the amount of trauma that we experience throughout our lives will depict the severity at which we will experience the personality styles that we are born with. There does reach a point where that hits clinical significance. Basically, your life is impacted to the point where you can't manage it in the way you would be able to manage it if it hadn't hit clinical significance. That's what we're really saying. When we're saying that someone has borderline personality disorder or avoidant personality disorder or anancastic or any of the others that I'm not talking about here because I don't have them, what we are saying is that the trauma that that person has experienced has impacted the way that their personality developed to the point that it makes living life harder. It is validation of the struggle. It doesn't need to be stigmatized. It is validation of what you've been through and how that impacted the way your brain developed. The majority of people that end up with a diagnosis of a personality disorder did not learn the skills that they needed to navigate life. When you have borderline, you also experience emotional distress in a far greater way than other people do. So when you have borderline personality disorder, essentially what we are saying is, not only do you not have the tools to navigate the emotional distress you're going to experience throughout your life that other people do have, but you also experience more of that emotional distress. So that's why we see people that are so incredibly dysregulated, that are engaging in actions and urges. I don't like the term behaviour because, let's not focus on the experience for other people solely. Let's recognise the physical distress response impacts both the person experiencing the distress and the people that experience the actions and urges that we have. That's the reality, and it's not easy for anyone, and it doesn't have to be there forever. Will I ever not have borderline? No, I'll always have. I was born with the personality, I'll die with the personality. What I can do by engaging in therapy that helps, by working on my own self-awareness, by surrounding myself with people who are also on a growth journey. For me, it's really important that my friends and my loved ones are also going through their own growth too. What we can do is we can begin to reduce the severity at which we experience those symptoms. It's hard talking about our personality as symptoms, but the personality itself isn't symptomatic, it's who we are. What is symptomatic is the intensity at which we experience it. That's what makes functioning so difficult. That's what makes life so difficult. By learning tools to navigate the distress, by surrounding ourselves with people who are on a similar journey, by learning where our limitations are, by understanding our neurodivergent profile, because many, if not all of us, I would say probably were born neurodivergent, autistic, ADHD, etc. We can reduce the severity at which we experience these symptoms, and that will reduce the clinical significance of the personality disorder to a point where it is far more manageable. So when I talk about personality disorders and destigmatizing them, this is what I mean. They're not bad, they're not evil, we're not bad people, we are harmed people that have to work on ourselves, but also that would benefit from other people understanding how to navigate this alongside us, because actually we can't grow on our own. It has to be a team effort.